sixth episode opens. As it turns out, Mr. Martin wasn't the person who kidnapped Janet, after all. We find out at the very beginning of the episode that Simon, Xavier, Nicole, and Claire abducted Janet and brought her to Sandra's empty cabin in the woods. They're uncertain how to get her back to Split River High without her causing a scene or drawing attention, but they know they can't allow her to keep living Maddie's life. They bind her to a chair, ensuring she can't escape, and try to persuade her to willingly return to Split River High. In an attempt to convince her, they reveal that Dawn has crossed over, hoping it will push Janet to switch bodies with Maddie. Janet, who had spent decades searching for a way to leave the spirit world and cross over, never found a way out. That's why she's skeptical when Simon and the others claim that Dawn crossed over. Desperate for her to go back to Split River High, Simon promises to show Janet proof that Dawn truly left the earthly plane. Simon fills Maddie in on the situation, and she, in turn, tells the other teen ghosts. After some time, Maddie finally uncovers something of Dawn's at Split River High that she can give Simon as proof to show Janet that Dawn truly crossed over. The evidence comes in the form of marigolds inside Dawn's scar. After navigating through Janet's scar, Maddie unexpectedly finds herself entering Rhonda's scar. This is when she realizes that all the ghosts' scars at the school are interconnected. Determined to make sense of it, Maddie travels through Janet's scar again, then Rhonda's, and eventually reaches Dawn's scar. A scar is usually a ghost's worst nightmare, as it forces them to relive their death. But when Maddie goes through Dawn's, it feels surprisingly peaceful. It's also filled with marigolds. This serene atmosphere likely exists because Dawn has crossed over. Simon returns to the cabin and tells Janet about the flowers, but it's still not enough to persuade her to return. It's not that she doubts the truth about crossing over, but rather that she's unwilling to give up her life in the human world. Having been robbed of her own life, she views living in Maddie's body as a second chance. It's only after Simon makes Janet feel guilty about taking over someone else's body that she finally relents. Before they leave for Split River High, Janet asks for a moment alone. Simon agrees and walks away, but perhaps he should have stayed. Just moments after he leaves, Mr. Martin appears and approaches Janet. Nicole confronts Xavier after realizing he's the one she's been talking to on the online paranormal discussion board. When Xavier essentially admits it, Nicole feels betrayed, convinced that he's been deceiving her all along. However, it was all one big misunderstanding, and they eventually make up. It seems that way. In addition to searching for evidence in Dawn's scar in this episode, Maddie discovers that her mom has fallen back into her old ways. Sandra had finally found happiness and peace after Maddie came home. Well, not Maddie, but Janet. But after realizing that Janet has left the house, Sandra spends the entire episode desperately trying to figure out where she is and why she refuses to go back to school. However, none of her efforts lead to any answers, only fueling her frustration and anxiety. Eventually, she reaches her breaking point and heads to a bar. Realizing there's nothing she can do to help her mom, a heartbroken Maddie gazes out a classroom window, watching as her mom is escorted to her car. The sixth episode is also all about Wally's high school reunion, aka Split River High's class of 1984 reunion. Charlie and Yuri decide to attend the event together, and they initially have a good time until Charlie finds out about Wally's past. While one of Wally's former classmates gives a speech, Wally and Charlie overhear a conversation between two other alumni. One of Wally's former classmates mentions to another that he was bullied by Wally and other jocks back when they were in school because of the way he carried his books. They made fun of him and bullied him because they thought he acted too feminine. Wally attempts to apologize to Charlie for his past behavior, but Charlie reassures him that it's okay, acknowledging that he's not the same person he once was. However, it's clear that the revelation about Wally's past has affected Charlie. He can't even finish his dance with Yuri later in the episode because he's still shaken by what he learned. Things start to improve after Charlie and Wally have a heart-to-heart conversation. Charlie wasn't upset about Wally's past because he knows he's changed. It's just that hearing about it made Charlie reflect on his own painful experiences with bullying from his classmates. After his conversation with Wally, Charlie feels much more at ease and is ready to enjoy his time with Yuri. Charlie finds Yuri in the pottery room and apologizes to him before they finish their dance from earlier. In the middle of their dance, they have their first kiss.